Right. Shalom, shalom, Mishpacha, shalom, shalom, we berachot. Mishpacha wa habarim. We're live right now. We're gonna get the link sent out to everyone, and then we'll get formally started. This way, we can give everybody a few minutes to get in, get online, get their materials. All right.
Most definitely. Greetings, everybody's B.A. Ben Abraham, and Sister Shanti back at you again. Back at you again.
Go ahead.
Just here to thank the Most High for bringing this again on another Sabbath. The Most High willing we all be edified by the information we're going to bring out. And we're still in the parashals. Last couple of weeks we've been dealing with the community. So we're going to be back on schedule. Right now we're dealing with Exodus chapter 21. And the Hebrew word again is that, what is that again?
Mishpatim.
Mishpatim, or judgments, or righteous judgment. We're going to take a look at that and build in that today. So we're going to start off in Exodus chapter 21.
Yeah, so Exodus 21, 22, 23, and 24.
Exactly.
If there is time, we can go over the prophet section for it. Let me see.
Yeah, depending on because you know me, since I don't follow the blueprint. I follow the Torah, but then I go my own direction.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. So we're sending the link out again to everybody. So there might be some.
Yeah, for those who are out of state and other places who are part of our group.
Right.
So most definitely give us a few moments and we'll get started.
Mhm.
Okay.
Did you make sure you send one out to Torch?
Yeah, I just sent it out to him.
Okay, cool.
All right, everybody, what we're going to do, we're going to open up with the Shema of Deuteronomy chapter 6. Shanti's going to read, and then after that, we'll open up in prayer.
Yeah, that's what that was. All right. She got the headphones in?
The reason being, I wanted to kind of.
Oh, here, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Deuteronomy, or Devarim, which means words. Chapter 6, verses 4 to 6. Shema Yisrael. Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Ve'ahavta et Yahweh Elohecha b'kol lebabecha u'b'kol nafshecha u'b'kol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadabarim ha'ele asher anochi mesawecha hayom al lebabecha. You want me to translate that or you?
I'm going to read it from the Greek Septuagint.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy mind, with all thy soul, with all thy strength. In these words all that I command thee this day shall be in thy heart and in thy soul. May the Most High add a blessing to hearing and reading of His word, His commandment. And
I'm doing prayer.
He is open up in prayer. I'll pray.
Mm-hmm.
Heavenly Father, we come to you in the name of Yeshua, your only and holy anointed messenger, to say thank you. We thank you for bringing us all here today. We praise you. We thank you for bringing us and gathering us on the Sabbath. We pray this Sabbath that, Heavenly Father, like all Sabbaths, that we gain and we glean and we be edified by the information being brought out. We thank you for everybody that's here. We thank you for those who are on their way, for those who are not able to make it. We pray for our loved ones and we pray for our enemies. We ask and we pray, and in Christ's name we pray. Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen.
I was looking at Exodus chapter, the whole parashah.
Mm-hmm.
And my past experience with this one, I tend to go here, and a lot of people they tend to go here to justify bad behavior. And what I mean by that, well, you know what? Instead of me going on a long rant, let's just get into it. So we're going to pick it up in Exodus chapter 21, and we're going to pick it up at verse
1. Verse 1?
Yeah.
Okay. And, sometimes I'll be switching back and forth between the NASB and the Scriptures ISR versions of the Scriptures, okay? All right. Exodus 21, starting at verse 1. Now these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go out free and pay nothing. Verse 3, if he comes in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. Verse 5, but if the servant plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or to the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever.
Okay. So what we have here, we have judgments, ordinances, or rules concerning buying servants or those who are going to work for you. And one thing I noticed about a lot of people go here and they like to use this excuse, well, you can't trust the Bible. It's talking about slavery. No, it's not talking about slavery. It's talking about working for someone, dealing with people on an everyday basis, servants, people who work for each other, right?
What we call that in modern day terms, VA? Employees.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing
Employers
is
and
that
employees.
I think that when you look at the word servant, and correct me if I'm wrong, that also can translate to it also can be translated to worship. I think
That's a different word.
it's a different
But go
word.
ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that, yeah, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. I think maybe I'm going to mix up with something else.
Okay.
But the point is that this is how, and remember, prior to this, the Most High has established the 10 utterances or the 10 commandments. So this is a continuous from that. So what I want to do, I want to look up the word judgment in the Hebrew in the concordance, and that's 4491, so we can get a little bit more clarity of what it means according to the Hebraic culture, or the Hebraic thought, rather. And this 4491 in the concordance, and I want to look at it.
Is it abad?
No, judgments.
Oh, judgments.
The word judgments,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And the word is 4941. I'm sorry, the number is 4941. And we have Mishpat. Mishpat. And this is what it means: a verdict, pronounced judicially, sentence or formal decree, the act, the place, the suit, the crime and penalty, abstract justice, incline a participant's right or privilege, right? So it goes both ways when I'm looking at right now. When it goes to the person in authority and the person who, the citizen. It goes back and forth, or supervisor or employee. It goes back and forth. So the employee has a right and the employer has a right. Or the person or the judge has a right and the person who's being judged, they have a right as well. Right? And we have, it's read, means judgments, rights. This word has two main senses. The first deals with the act of sitting as a judge, hearing a case, and rendering a proper verdict. So also this means righteous judgment. So if the Most High is telling you to conduct yourself amongst this community righteously, or to be the judge, he wants you to do it righteously. There's only one type of judgment according to the eyes of the Most High: righteous judgment. So we have to keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that you just go and rule with an iron fist. That's not the way in the Most High, to do it righteously. So what we have here, we have this could be a male or this individual who comes into a situation looking for work, and he's looking for employment. Now this is something that we have to recognize. Now you don't have to do. I mean, in the community, back in this time frame, you don't have to do this. But if you happen to come into this type of agreement, you're bound by these rules that the Most High had already set. All right. So let's read verse 4.
Exodus 21, verse 4.
I read it real quick. I just want to make a point. If his master had given him a wife, and she had borne him sons or daughters, the wife of her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. So now all of a sudden we see that this guy, he comes in, after he serves 6 years, he can leave. But if his master or his boss gives him a wife or a lady to deal with, and they have children, well, you see that he can leave still, but guess what? His wife and children, they can't go.
And did he know this beforehand?
Yeah,
did the employee know this beforehand?
And before he came in, he had to know this. These are the rules. Mm-hmm. This is not the only way you can get a wife and children. This is the only way you can get employment. But if you do this, these are the rules. All right? Verse 6. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door.
Well, can you read verse 5?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because
my fault. Yeah.
No,
verse 5. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife and my children, I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the door post, and his master shall bore his ear through with an anvil, and he shall serve him forever. Think about that. Is that familiar with anything else? Does that sound familiar with something that we've read in the past?
Yeah. Once you come into the kingdom, the Father have you forever. He will never leave you or forsake you.
Exactly. That's one way.
And and you become part of the family. You're not a servant. You're part of the family.
Exactly.
When you do that, that's the main point. You become part of the family. Everything he set up. It says slavery in this thing, but everybody that, even Abraham, who was coming through the West End, anybody who came into his household became part of the family.
Exactly.
The servants became part of the family.
And Abraham was a righteous judge.
Yeah. So
that's
the point is to try to make you. If this thing was set up to become part of the family, not like it did us over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, not like they did us over here.
Well, yeah, not like they did us in slavery, but a lot of these principles that Brother Leon just brought out, when you bring somebody into your family, you take them in as your own, you treat them as your own. They have rights, they have things that are provided to them, exactly. as one born in your house, right?
When we say judgment, because there's a religious aspect to the word judgment.
Yep.
In that we're talking about, like you said, what's right. So there's a decision, an informal psychological decision that this is best for me. And then we're talking about, there's a legal term judgment.
Yeah.
Which you're talking about the rulings. It's already been ruled and decided, and we can't change that.
Exactly.
So now we're being judged against what was already ruled.
Come on.
Right or wrong, legal, illegal.
Right.
What's married, what's not married, what's divorced. There's a legal term, but then there's a judgment that says this is my decision.
Yes.
Because I love my master. Or I
yes.
love, and so now I'm going to fall in line. I'm going to fall under this ruling, my choice.
Exactly.
Good point.
Good point. I also thought about, look, when he says in verse 6, I'll read the last sentence. Or unto the doorpost. Or so the judges, he shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with the anvil, and he shall serve him forever. Isn't that synonymous with the circumcision?
What do you mean?
Think about it. The doorpost, the blood's on the doorpost, like in the Passover.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, so the striking of the flesh, and putting the anvil through his ear.
Okay.
And the blood, and he's at the doorpost. So that's symbolic of the blood being on the doorpost during Passover. And since the Most High had passed Israel over during that time, they went into the covenant to serve him forever.
So anytime you cut a covenant, because that's what it means. The blood is there's some blood, right?
Exactly.
And that seals the deal, right?
Seals the deal.
Well, there's always a mark.
Right.
There's always a sash or blood. There's always talking about when you see a righteous man, mark that man. Mark.
Exactly.
They're marked.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So then when we see him, we know that because of his mark, where he stands.
Exactly. Like a badge.
Exactly.
Like a work badge.
This person is already part of the covenant because he was already part of Israel because he was already circumcised because he was an Israelite.
Oh, you talking about the point that B.A. said similar to the
Yeah, but I was making this. I saw comparison. From,
okay.
Yeah, that's all. Just bringing something out another direction, but same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And so let's read verse 7.
Exodus 21, starting at verse 7. And if a man sells his daughter to be a female slave, she shall not go outside. She shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people, since he has dealt deceitfully with her. And if he has betrothed her to his son, he shall deal with her according to the custom of daughters. Verse 10, if he takes another wife, the wife is italicized. There's a lot of italicized words, which italicized means they're not originally in the text. It says, if he takes another, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, and her marriage rights. And if he does not do these three for her, then she shall go out free without money.
So as you can see now, when it comes to the woman or the sisters, it's a slight difference. And we see in verse 8, if she pleases not her master, who had betrothed her to himself, right? And it says, then shall he let her be redeemed. Now we understand that's 62.99 in concordance. Redeemed, that also can mean. I apologize. I try to memorize a lot of stuff, but today I'm gonna do textbook today. I gotta go textbook. You know what I'm saying? That's 62.99 the concordance, and it means to cut off. But I just want to just go in here and look at it real quick. 62.99. Padah.
What is that?
Padah.
Yeah, padah.
Padah. So this is translated to being redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
Padah means to redeem, ransom, indicate that someone's intervening or substitutionary action affects a release from an undesirable condition. In more secular context, it implies a payment of some sort. So as you can see, if this woman, if this woman is betrothed, if she doesn't please her master, who had betrothed her. Now, I was looking at the word betrothed, and there's two different words. In the Hebrew, it's 3259. That means to appoint, to set up, to make an arrangement. So let's just say they made an arrangement, which also can mean marry as well. So they made some type of arrangement, or she's betrothed to marry him, or whatever it may be. If she's not pleasing to him, then she can just leave. She can cut herself. He has to redeem her. If he's not interested no more, she can just go. But then it says in the second part of verse 8, to sell her into a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he had dealt deceitfully with her. So that doesn't mean just because she's betrothed to him or appointed to him that he has any type of right to sell her off to other nations. He has not. That's contrary to the way of the Most High. Because if you give her off to the other nations, then the nation's going to treat her any old kind of way as well. So that's why the Most High has stressed to Israel, before you deal with the nations, you need to understand how the nations conduct themselves and make sure that you bring them to my way. Don't send people to them. You know what I'm saying? That's contrary. So the thing is that we have to understand that this rule, but it's commonly taught, people use this to try to set up some type of justification to treat women in your kind of way. I've heard a bunch of lousy interpretations of this one, totally out of context. But people will go here and try to justify sex slaves. It's the honest truth. I'm not attacking nobody, but over the years I've heard bad misinterpretations of this one, horrible ones. But let's keep going. And if he had betrothed her unto his son, so let's say this is another female who's been betrothed unto the master's son, right? He shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. So what does that mean?
What does what mean?
When he says in verse 9, and if he had betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters.
Well, like I said, that's the legal term. You know, that's his wife now. That's your legal daughter-in-law, and you have to, by law, treat her as such.
Yes, it could be your wife or your daughter.
So now, like I said, so now if she's redeemed, which means to buy back. So now I'm redeeming that previous transaction, get my money back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Then there's no legal contract between him or her now.
Yeah.
But now, if she marries my son, then again, I've entered into another legal contract.
Yeah, exactly. He has
and
to.
I have to honor that contract.
Yep. He has to take. Yeah, exactly. Verse 10. And if you take him another, some say wife, some doesn't say anything. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to say something, Elder?
No.
Oh, okay. And if he take him another, her food, her raiment, her duty, her marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not, these three unto her, then she shall go out without money. So what we get from that?
Without money.
Yeah, without money.
She don't get.
She doesn't have to pay to release herself.
She can just freely go.
If this person is now abusing her rights or not giving her these three things that he said he would, then she can go.
She can go free
without payment.
Yeah.
Without payment.
And the guy don't have to pay nothing.
No,
She doesn't have to.
She don't have to pay nothing. She can just leave.
Okay, what about his obligation?
Well, he's not keeping it because he's messed it up because he's not fulfilling what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to take care of her as his own. But he's acting contrary to the contract. So since he's decided to act contrary, she has a right to just walk up and leave.
You know how some people, like music industry, for example, right? Some people say, okay, I'm going to sign this music deal, and I'm going to be with you for 2 years, and I'm going to cut you 2 records in those 2 years, right? And you sign on the contract there, right? And the producer or the executive producer says, well, I gave you $1 million budget. You got to cut me 2 years, 2 albums. If you say, I want out of my contract, right? If you say you want out of your contract, and you have not gave what you said you was going to give, which is 2 years and 2 albums, you know, sometimes the executive producer says, well, I can sue you because you still owe me these records or this money back,
and
right?
You
agreed on it, right? And you know, some people's like, okay, if you want out of your contract, they'll say, okay, you as the signee, you need to pay to get out of your contract, right? This is saying she doesn't have to pay to get out of her contract because the master did not fulfill his bargain or his end of the contract.
Should he keep his end of the deal?
If that's a better understanding.
Because he's supposed to deal with her after the manner of daughters. In other words, he's taken upon this woman who he betrothed to his son. Since he's the master of the household, he is to take care of her and treat her as one of his own. And if he is not taking care of her, then guess what? If he's not taking care of, if he's not holding his end of the deal, then she has all rights to walk away.
Yeah, I can understand that. On the point, I was just trying to make her, but he still owe her.
You can't make him act right. That's why she's leaving in the first place.
Yeah,
That's
but
modern day.
What I'm saying, but he still owe her in a way. That's all I was.
It doesn't say that.
Well, it doesn't say that.
It would look like
She's free.
it's an entitlement. So like if you say you buy a car, you making payments, and you just stop making payments. Well, they can just come get it.
Yeah.
They don't owe you nothing. You voted your contract.
Yeah.
And they're entitled to come repossess that from you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't owe nothing. They don't owe you nothing, but you lose.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, you really do owe something, but they can't make you do that either. Just like this.
They come make you pay.
Yeah, you want to keep your car.
No. After they take it, they still make you pay. That's my point I was trying to make.
Oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, like I said, if you just stop paying and you, like I said, there's consequences for you.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go do if you still refuse to pay, you'll just go to jail.
Mm.
But
that's the point I was making. That's the point I was making.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we ain't got into the consequences, but there's some other consequences.
Right.
Yeah. We're just talking about the contract.
Yeah.
And one thing about it, when you look at this from verse 1 all the way up to verse 11, this is how we are supposed to act as a community. This is how we're, as believers, we are supposed to be available for those who are in need. Because as you can see in verse 1 and verse 2, there's a servant. He's coming to somebody. He needs work. He needs some type of way to provide for himself.
This is what you call civil law in our day, right? Yeah. Civil law. So this is learning how to deal with your fellow man.
Exactly.
Right?
And the Most High is stressing to them, these are judgments. These are righteous judgments. So when there's someone in the community or in your environment, whoever, who's in need, you are to make yourself available to them.
Right.
If you're able to do that. Right? Turn to Deuteronomy 15. I want to look at a few parallels. Deuteronomy 15. And we're going to pick it up in verse, let's see, Moses. Because I love it. We're going to pick it up in verse 7. Because Moses, he builds his case.
Uh-huh.
And I'll read this. If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thy hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thy hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanted. You see how they're supposed to be available for those who are in need? Mm-hmm. Verse 9. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and thy eye be evil against thy poor brother. And thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it shall be sin unto thee. He said sin. So if you shut your hand against those who are working for you, that's a sin.
Come on.
So, and I just want to make this point real quick. See, the scriptures are very clear on what's sin and what isn't sin.
Beautiful.
Very clear. So when brothers or individuals are fighting over minor stuff, that's not getting us nowhere. But as you can see right here, Moses has stressed this is sin if you turn your eye evil, if you turn away from your brother in need.
What's the definition of sin?
The definition of sin, as far as I know, that's contrary to the teachings of the Most High.
Good point.
Right?
Well, in this case, this brother ain't working for you yet. He's just in need, and you don't want to give him you don't want to help take care of his need because you can't hold him to it for 7 years, for 6 years.
Yeah, for 6 years he has to work for you. In that 7th year, you were supposed to let him go.
Yeah.
But Moses is going to get a little bit more in depth about that rule. Watch.
I do want to bring out something, but go ahead.
No, you want to work my way there, or what you want to do?
Well, to add to what Brother Leon was saying, Brother Leon was saying the person hasn't necessarily worked for you yet. However, in this full chapter here, this is talking about the Jubilee year or year of release. What some people in Israel, as far as me reading, would do is they knew that the 7th year or year of release was coming up, right? And then their brother came to them in need, sister came to them in need in the 6th year. And the employer, knowing that the year of release is coming up, be like, I ain't about to take this guy on for a year because I'm going to have to give him up next year. So let me not do it. That's called evil eye, or evil eyes being greedy. Stingy or greedy. So yeah, this one is saying, that's the main context. I know BA went here to show you pretty much, helping out those in need, but don't be stingy when there's help out in need. But specifically, this is talking about don't even get to the point where you're stingy because the year of release is coming up. You're not going to get a total of 6 years, maybe just one. And don't turn your heart away because you're just going to get 1 year out of them as opposed to 6. But yeah.
When you were talking about the definition of sin, and Paul pretty much said, Apostle Paul said it was to miss the mark.
Good.
And there's a proverb that says, talk about if you miss me, you're going to harm yourself. And those who don't love me love death.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about, again, the consequence of, we can break a law even if we're unaware.
Yeah.
You still broke the law. You still missed, you know.
Right. That's a good point.
To the point where now there's a consequence, even unto death.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yourself you're harming when you miss it.
That's
So the proverb is, you know, he's saying, you know, don't miss this. Don't miss me. Because he said, he who finds me finds life and favor. But if you miss me, then you harm yourself.
Exactly.
And now you're facing death.
Yeah, he says also in Hosea, Israel, I'm your help. Yeah.
And that's what Paul was saying, you know, thank God we have grace. Because if we miss it,
right,
we have grace to help bring us back to the mark.
Yeah, and grace is not a green light to do whatever the heck you want.
No, it's
green light. The grace is there for you. Okay, you recognize what you did. Now it's time to get back on that narrow path that Christ talked about. Now walk it. You know what's up. Don't make that same mistake again. And we may stumble as we go along, but the goal is to get to a point to where the Most High is dealing with you to where you're walking upright at all times. It's not going to happen overnight.
Because like I said, he says the law is there to teach us, to tutor us, to show you that you're in sin, so you have an opportunity to turn.
Yeah.
But if you continue, then, you know, basically you're continuing toward death.
right.
And then Paul said, I forget where he said it. He said the law is for the unrighteous, but not for the righteous.
Right.
So it's funny how we use the law. Like I keep saying, when you use it as a sword, ain't nobody gonna want to keep it, and nobody want to deal with it. So that's the thing. I'm like, and it's also commanding the law to have mercy. See, we always use a law to, but when it comes to mercy, showing love for others, or we don't want to deal with that. No. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something.
Like you said, you're talking about you make emphasis on the doorpost.
Yeah.
And I see they do that in sports now. You know, they put the banner up and they
Yeah.
pass under. They gotta, because once you pass under this, you know better. You know.
Exactly.
Taught, you know. So now, once you pass under, once you pass that doorpost, it's like now you're going to be judged based on the fact that you knew better.
Exactly.
And it might be double.
Exactly. Exactly. It's I'm gonna go down to verse 10.
You're still in Deuteronomy?
Deuteronomy 15 and verse 10.
Okay.
Thou shalt surely give him, and thy heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thy works, and all that thou puttest thine hand unto. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, Thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to the needy in the land. As you can see, Moses is building his case. Now he's going to go into what we just read in Exodus 21, verse 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, and out of thy floor, right? And out of thy winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him, because the Most High gave it to you. So guess what? It is your job to bless others. Do the same thing that he has done for you. Right? Verse 15. And thou shalt remember that thou was a bondman in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee. Therefore, I command thee this thing today.
Yes.
So you see what we have? The poor will always be among us. Those who are in need will always be among us. And that doesn't mean be a doormat to them. That means to make yourself available if you can. Don't hurt yourself to help everybody else out. That's one thing I stress. Like, I know people who will go without and we barely making it, struggling and can barely pay their bills, but will go out their way to help somebody else. Which I see nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's very righteous of you to do that. But what about yourself? Who's gonna help you now?
Your family.
But what if your family ain't around?
Oh.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, what I'm saying is that it's not sin to sit there and not help somebody if you're not able to help nobody else out.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Make yourself available. That's what he said, because the Most High said, I have given you these things. So if I have given you things to make yourself sufficient and you have enough, help somebody else out. But if you're not able to, then don't do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't. But always make yourself available. And Christ also taught this as well. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to Mark chapter 14.
Before you make your point, Mark 14, I just wanted to bring out something
Go ahead.
from Deuteronomy 15. Because I like to bring things into modern day times. People are like, well, how does this ancient book relate to us today or tell us how to operate today? Deuteronomy 15, verses 13 and 14. When you stop as an employee working for an employer, you go out with with things in your hand. We would call that today what? A retirement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to
And notice back then, they didn't have to work 30, 40 years. Only 6 years. 6 years.
6 years was the one, but if you wanted to work for somebody more than 6 years, see, if you wanted to work for more than 6, right, you can go out. And I know if before you go, I'm at my third job now, or fourth job, and each job you go to, you are building up a retirement.
Yes, you are.
So.
Yes, you are.
When I went away from my first job, second job, I didn't walk away with my retirement. I just left it there to keep building up. But when you're done after, your 30 years, here in America, 30 years, right?
Yes, how long? Yeah.
You get to sign off and say,
And the ways you keep.
let me go out, but with something in my hand, because I still have to take care of, house, car, children, if you got them, necessities, things of that nature. I just wanted to, bring out that point.
Nowadays, the way things are going now, you may have to work 45 years. The way it's going now, man, the way the economy is just it's ugly.
Well, I would say this before you go, because me and Brother Darrell was talking. There is a way, and we talk about financially setting yourself up while you're working, not just letting the money sit there, but learning what to invest in, how to invest, and how much to invest in that time, so you don't have to work 30 years. I know some people who work for 25 years, they didn't stacked up enough money, invested enough money, right, to retire at 50. 55 for some people. I know me, it's later than 65. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But also in there, when we talk about, because the Bible defines who are the poor, and we always say the homeless, but that's not what the Bible calls poor.
Exactly.
So we just have to be careful. We ain't just emphasizing
just the homeless.
Just homeless people, because they're really it's talking about poor in spirit.
That is true. That is true.
And they're doing worse. There more rich folks are committing suicide.
Yeah.
Middle class people we talk about today, like I said, they say the average middle class person dies on the job, never receives retirement.
Woo.
That's a statistic today. So we talking about a different. We going back to the biblical what we call poor.
Yeah. That's a good point, Brother.
Mark chapter 14,
Mark
that's a very
14.
good point. And a lot of people don't even realize that. A lot of people on the job today are dying. They don't get a chance to their retirement. I know when I was working at Blue Diamond Armor Growers, I worked there for about almost 7 years, about 7 years. And there were people who were worked there 35, 40 years and were retired. And 2 months later, gone. After retirement, dead. It's like that. Mark chapter 14. I'm going to pick up at verse 3. And being in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the meat, there came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment, spikenard, very precious, and she brake the box and poured it on his head. And there were some that had indignation within themselves and said, Why was this waste of the ointment made? For it might have been sold for more than 300 pence and have been given to the poor. And they had murmured against her. I'm going to pick up at verse 6. And Jesus said, Let her alone. Why trouble you her? She hath wrought a good work on me. For ye have the poor with you always. And whensoever ye may do them good, but me ye have not always. Ain't that something? Moses commanded it. Then I hear the other mediator, the mediator of all mediators. He also commanded it. So when people say that Christ, he didn't have no connection with the Torah. No, what are you talking about? Everything that came out of his mouth, his actions was Torah.
Hallelujah.
So, and that's what the Christian don't understand. They want him to verbatimly say Torah. And then the Hebrew Israelite who rejects Christ, they're the same way, but they're the same thing. Well, he has to say it. No, you can't see by the actions. Torah is based on actions. You know what I'm saying? Being an Israelite is based on actions. The Most High, his spirit, it's about action. Things coming into action, things coming into play, things getting done. So I thought that was important to make the connection with Exodus 21, Deuteronomy 15, and I thought it was significant to bring out. Hopefully we were edified by that. Yeah. Any questions or comments, observations? Anybody?
This is beautiful.
All right. Let's see. Let's look at let's go back to Exodus 21. And we're going to pick it up in verse 12.
Verse 12?
Yes.
All right. Exodus 21, verse 12. He who strikes a man so that he dies shall surely be put to death. However, if he did not lie in wait, but God delivered into his hand, then I will appoint for you a place where he may flee. Verse 14. Well, can I make a point? Bring something out. If you lie in wait, that's murder.
Yeah.
All right. That's you thought about it. Yeah. Premeditated. All right. Verse 14. But if a man acts with premeditation, okay.
Presumptions. Yeah,
premeditation against his neighbor, to kill him by treachery, you shall take him from my altar, that he may die. Verse 15. And he who strikes his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Verse 16. He who kidnaps a man and sells him, or if he is found in his hand, shall surely be put to death. So what happened in slavery, where you just take somebody? That's kidnapping, right? Yep. Verse 17. And he who curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Verse 18. If men contend with each other, and one strikes the other with a stone or with fist, and he does not die, but is confined to his bed, if he rises again and walks about outside with his staff, then he who struck him shall be acquitted. He shall only pay for the loss of his time, and shall provide for him to be thoroughly healed. Verse 20. And if a man beats his male or female servant with a rod, so that he dies under his hand, he shall surely be punished. Man. Okay, that's verse 21. Notwithstanding, if he remains alive a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his property. Verse 22. If men fight and hurt a woman with child. Okay, so if men fight and hurt a woman with child, so that she gives birth prematurely, yet no harm follows, he shall surely be punished accordingly as the woman's husband imposes on him, and he shall pay as the judges see fit, determine. But if any harm follows, then you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. That's that equal measure.
Yeah. See, and I heard over the years people take this out of context. See, they don't want to read verse 22. They want to read verse 23, verse 24 and 25. They go here to justify eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. What's the reason why? Because as you can see, when things are being done, there's a consequence. Like in verse 12, it says, "He that smiteth a man." In the Hebrew, it means like to intentionally strike, right? He shall be surely put to death. So if you strike a man intentionally to hurt him, and it says, and he shall die, well, guess what? The judgment will come back on you.
That's your just due measure.
Exactly. The same measure, right? Verse 13, and if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him unto his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. So in other words, This could be somebody. Something could have happened, and they have to decide if it was intentional or was an accident. So I think where's that? Deuteronomy chapter 19, where it goes into more depth about it. But what happens if this was to happen, the guy would have to go away for a while, and the reason why he would go away because the family may want to.
Oh, city of refuge.
Yeah, city of refuge. There you go.
Uh-huh.
And if the family, the person who was murdered or whatever happened, that family may want to get some type of redemption or some type of retribution. So they would have the guy hide for a while, or however long it was, and the judges will have to decide. I think they took it to the Most High as well, and they would have to decide, okay, was this intentional? Was this an accident? And once they come to a conclusion, okay, well, we found out it was intentional or it was an accident, then they can make a judgment. And if it's intentional, well, you know that you know the call, you know the solution to that, death. But if it was an accident, then they would have certain things. Certain things would have to go out within the judgment. He may have to make up for what he did, or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because that's a hurtful thing. You know, when your family member dies or a friend close to you dies, right? You feel some sort of way, and like BA said, you want to get revenge, but you need some time to just go into a process of
getting over it,
healing.
Yeah,
but this is the exact scripture that Yeshua addressed, because it also was stated, I think it's in Ezra, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, and he said, this is where he said, it has been said, or you've heard this, but now I say, forgive them. Forgive them who harm you, despitefully use you, even your enemy. And so now what do we do? Because like I said, we want revenge, but he says, vengeance is mine.
That's right.
So this is the exact scripture that he was quoting. So now Yeshua said, because of grace, because of my grace, because of mercy, you forgive them. I'm the judge, Like I said, the judgment's already been
set,
ruled,
Exactly.
And so now you are not to
take action,
judge one another.
Yeah, when it comes
go
to
take,
that.
like I said, take the law in your own hand, whatever, So that's what makes it hard now, because somebody harms a family member, and we're going after them.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, there's no harm done. Yeah,
yeah,
most definitely. And
verse 26.
Verse 26.
We going to continue, right? Or...
No, those are just some points I want to touch on in this chapter. I just thought it would be important to just touch those, because in verse 22, it's it's the same thing, but there's some slight differences on certain things, on like what happens. Let's get to it. Let's go to Exodus 22. Or there's something else you feel we need to bring up.
Right. Chapter 22?
Yeah, Exodus 22. We're going to go to the next
Exodus 22, okay. Verse 1?
Yes, verse 1. Hold on. No, you know what? Yeah, you start at verse 1.
Exodus 22, starting at verse 1. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. Verse 2. If the thief is found breaking in and he is struck so that he dies, there's no guilt for his bloodshed. Verse 3. If the sun has risen on him, there shall be guilt for his bloodshed. He should make full restitution. If he has nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft is certainly found alive in his hand, whether it is an ox or donkey or sheep, he shall restore double.
All right, stop there. So as you can see, if a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 ox for an ox and 4 sheep for a sheep. So in other words, if you're stealing, you have to replace it. Now that's not so living over here. You still, guess what? Even if you try to replace it, that's not good enough. You're going to get in trouble for it. Either go to jail or you got to pay some kind of penalty. But as you can see in the teachings of the Most High, we see that it's just, like you say, it's the same measure. If you do this, this happens. You do that, that happens. Verse 2, if a thief be found breaking up and be smitten,
Breaking in.
I'm sorry, breaking. No, he says found breaking up in the King James.
That's that King James.
I don't.
I mean, read the rest of the verse to see if
Yeah.
it makes sense. If the thief is found breaking.
If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. So when you read that, what is that? What do you got of that?
He got his due.
That's called self-defense, right?
We're
We're in Exodus 22, verse 2.
But
verse
that's
2.
talking about at night, right?
Yeah.
Then it talks about the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. So does that mean Because I'm reading this, and I'm like, that means no blood will be shed on the person who killed him?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I look at that. That's how I look at that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be no blood shed for him, the person who killed the thief, right?
Where you read that again, verse 3.
If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him.
Right.
Okay. There shall be blood shed for him. For he should make a full restitution if he have nothing. Then he shall be sold for his theft. Let's look at that real quick. If the sun be risen upon him, so this is talking about the thief, right? There shall be blood shed for him. There shall be blood shed for him. For he should make restitution. So, is that saying that he could be? Is that saying that kill him, or is that saying to kill him?
Understand you.
I'm sorry. Does that mean to kill him? Does that mean any type of punishment?
For who?
For the thief.
So what he's talking about, and they
Okay,
teach us
go ahead.
in security academy, that kind of thing. If you can see the person,
Exactly.
then you make every effort not to kill that person, and to let to de-escalate the situation. If it's at night, you can't see the person, then you can't determine if your life is in danger. So you protect yourself.
Yeah.
But if, like I said, we talk
Daytime.
even as an armed guard, if
gotta
you
play it
can
off.
turn and run, you should run. But if you
Nothing.
run and he's right behind you,
I thought you was gonna get
well,
that.
that's a different situation now, because
Yeah.
my life, now my life is threatened. But I can see you, and all you're here to do is steal something.
Yeah. So now I gotta kind
So
of.
now I
can't really.
shouldn't take your life over
Yeah.
some fine china.
I can lay my
Yeah, I
hands
should
on you.
de-escalate.
Yeah.
I
I
agree
can
with
lay
you
my.
totally.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
You
ahead.
see- you see what the
I agree with
intent
them
is
totally.
there.
That's,
Yeah. I can lay my hands on you.
So that's
but I
that's
can't
the-
kill you.
And that's the argument
In other
today,
words.
is that people are shooting before they're not even
Yeah.
making an attempt
Yeah.
to not take the life.
Well,
They're just-
Does
they're
that
just
sound familiar?
emptying and clipping somebody.
Shooting
Yeah.
first.
could I share something?
Of course.
This is actually the verse I'm sharing with my wife, and I'm gonna share with my daughter when I'm talking about gun safety with them and home protection. Like it talks about during the day and during the night, and the ransom that the blood redeemer has a ransom to take back if someone's life is taken in error. So like during that night, say someone's breaking into your house, I bring up a lesson in home protection. If you have a shotgun for home protection, at night you can clear a room with 3 or 4 shots, depending on how this one would be like 5, but you can clear a room, and that muzzle flare will give you illumination, and you can kind of determine, but you're still at dark. So it would be best to clear and determine where the target is, and then pump twice on them, not looking, in the dark. But in the daytime, if someone breaks in, now you don't have to go through all those shells. You could just go one to the head and he's gone. But it's not justified.
Yeah.
Because you can determine the threat. If someone's coming in to break in and steal, remember I said a thief.
Right.
But if someone's coming in to take your life, you can assess that threat.
Yeah, because at nighttime, because you don't know.
You don't know what he's
But
there
the
for.
daytime, you know more. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good. After you make your point.
But in the daytime, he's coming in, and he could be just trying to get something real quick and hop out.
Yeah,
but
and
you can
take
see
it,
what he's
you
doing.
can take his leg at that point with the shotgun, or you could de-escalate.
Hold on. Brother Daryl, yes. I mean, we free because I can't. We didn't understand what you were asking. What were you saying?
I was saying move the mic over towards him so we can hear him clear. Not towards me. The mic on your table that you have more towards you. You can hear you loud and clear. You can barely hear him on the live stream. Move the mic over so we can hear him clear.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
BA be talking low sometimes though.
Nah, you know,
When he
there's
start getting passionate.
there's
Like,
days
yeah,
there's
you know
days
what I'm
I know,
saying?
there's days I won't. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Let's.
Don't try to put me on blast.
I wasn't putting you on blast. I mean, like, we're free to talk in here. I don't want to, have you say something 10 times over and I can't understand you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to do that.
Let's see. There was something I wanted to look into. Let's skip down to verse 16.
22?
Yep.
We're 22:16.
Yes.
Exodus 22, verse 16. Starting at verse 16. If a man entices a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall surely pay the bride price for her, his wife. Verse 17, if her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money according to the bride price of virgins.
I'll stop right there. So this is simple. You know what I'm saying? If a man entice a maid that is not betrothed or she's not appointed or not engaged to get married to anybody, and if he messes around and lie with her, then he shall surely endow her to be his wife. That's guaranteed. You didn't touch something that didn't belong to you. You know what I'm saying? It probably wasn't meant for you to even be with her or lie with her. So guess what? Now you got to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Verse 17, if the father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. So no matter what, since you inconvenienced the father, now you're gonna have to pay. Even though if the father still doesn't want to give her to you, based on the law, based on what the Most High has said, no, he's already laid with her. She's his. This is a lesson learned for him. You wanted her that bad, now you got to keep her. And guess what? You want to cash out.
So basically, most young men coming out of high school got to repent off the back. They ain't got no job to pay for nothing, and they ain't putting no rings on nothing. So.
Yeah.
Could I make a statement and ask a general question?
Yeah, go ahead.
To everyone. He brought up like in high school, right? Well, every kid coming out of high school is gonna have to repent.
Yeah.
Well, we're dealing with real people and real instructions given to a real nation to govern themselves. We can look at this like, oh, this is some utopian society that will have chaste virgins until that point. I don't believe that that's that way when it was written more today, right?
Yes.
But this leads into this question. Is the bride price and the price of virgins two different things? Because again, there's differentiation all through this chapter of if it's like this or if it's like that. And I'm just asking to anybody if they are, if they know for sure. Because in my reading, it's just reading from the Bible to see that the bride price and the price for the dowry is different. Just from me reading from the comparisons throughout the chapter.
Let's look up the words in the concordance.
But, I mean, no, it's going to say different things in Hebrew. But I mean, if anybody's read anything else to see that.
We're talking about anytime a male or a female has intercourse, the word says that's a covenant.
Well, I'm asking. The first time it says that if that man lays with a woman who's already betrothed to somebody, so you pay that bride price. Now that's your wife. You're bad. But it says then later on it brings up the price of virgins. So I'm kind of jumping forward. That's why I'm asking the question. If anybody knows, I'm not trying
off
to
the
jump
bat. I
forward
would have
too
to go,
much.
No, I would have to go
But
back and look at.
I was just wondering if it was a different
we're
price, like if it's a different term for a different thing, or if it's two terms for the same price.
So basically, did one hold more value than the other?
Yeah. Am I paying more because she was a virgin, or am I paying the standard for a daughter who more or less maybe ain't?
Well, I believe it says that the virgin price has to do with the father sets that price.
Yeah, because he didn't want to give her up.
You pay based on his value, which could be higher or lower.
Yeah.
I think that would it be a different price if
Yeah,
she were a virgin. Or
Like,
not.
can I read it? I just have.
I read in verse 16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed,
Okay.
right, and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
Okay.
If the father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins.
Okay.
So what we have here is that
We have a dowry and a dowry of virgins. That's what
See,
I'm asking. Is it different?
Let me say this. Let me say this. For me, your question is very in depth. I want to go back and look at both words. I want to see if dowry and bride price are the same word in Hebrew. So right now, to answer your question, I would say I don't know. I'll go back
It
and
was
research.
I don't know for me.
I don't. I mean, what Ashanti would say is I don't know. I would definitely, for me, I want to go back and look at see if those words.
Well,
If I want to see if those words dowry and bride price are even the same in Hebrew.
nowadays,
That's my answer.
in this land, that doesn't mean nothing because we don't have a Bible, have those things.
You know,
We don't have it here.
Yeah, we don't have it here.
Plenty of places.
So, I mean, the question is asking a legitimate question, but we don't have that
Well,
in the land now.
so, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We do have it in a way. Whether it's practiced or not is up to the individual person. But for explanation's sake, when a young man is into a young woman and he wants to marry her, the typical tradition is if she comes from a full family, for him to ask her father permission to marry her. So, although it's not a monetary price, that is typically the price of respect. It's basically, are you respectful young person enough to come and ask his father for the hand of his daughter? And if you actually find that most young men who start their relationship off that way tend to build a better foundation in their marriage than most young men who just take a girl, we gonna run to Reno, get married, and forget what your parents say. You know what I'm saying? We're 18 and we're wild and free. You know, though a lot of times, sometimes that can work, but a lot of times that tends to come back and bite people. And that's almost like the punishment for not paying the respect of your price due, which was asking and earning the respect of the father or leader of that household. So it's a price, it's just not monetary, you know.
I hope that there's a difference in price. That's just my hope, because I understand what you're saying. One does have more value, in my opinion. If you're taking something.
Well, it would be, and I'm let's be honest, I'm the one that typically says stuff a little more closer to my chest than to the Bible. But let's be honest, you got a daughter who's a virgin, and you got a daughter who out there doing too much. Who you think is going to be a little harder to let go of when you're a father?
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah, that's how I'm reading. Am I reading into
terms,
that, or is there a consensus?
That would,
like,
in today's terms, that would be a price. Like you have your daughter who's virgin. I mean, my daughter went to college a virgin, so I understand. You know, you have this daughter that's precious to you. This like you never even had to have that. Oh, I'm scared. I'm worried. I'm this. Versus that daughter that was a sophomore in high school, just already acting wild to where by the time she get married, you like, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, it's a difference, though. You know what I mean? Like,
right. We were talking about somebody coming and taking something. So I'm guess just looking at it from that simple point.
As a father, when someone marries your daughter, they're taking from your family and adding to their own. You know, yeah, they're adding to your family too in a way, but really they're taking her and they're building their own family, their own foundation. So they are taking from you. They're coming and taking, like, unless the father arranges a marriage, it's always going to feel like your daughter's being taken from you.
Yeah, and right here in this case, there's not an arrangement. If this young man entices her and she's not ready to be betrothed, then guess what? You done inconvenienced the family, the father now. So since you done did this without any type of clarification or any type of arrangements, she's yours now. And on top of that, you have to pay. There's dowry of virgins. So,
Is there a bigger price?
Because when we talk about,
so I would say probably yeah.
Yeah, I think there is. Can I interject?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about taking, right? In a real life scenario, I took my wife, who was not betrothed to anybody, right? I went to her father and asked him the bride price. He said, "Don't put your hands on her. Take care of her. She's yours." I took my bride. Now, with, you know how you said in our customs and our things like this, I want to share something after we go through this chapter in Corinthians, because it addresses what you said, because we don't have those customs in our society now. But I want to bring that thing up later in Corinthians. But when I went to the father, right, to her father, that was like preliminary for me. We went through the laws of restitution for 6 years with the bond servant. Well, I'm a bond servant for life. So sometimes I get a Sabbath every 7 years, but it's back to work. It's for life. So with that, after my break, it was a Sabbath year a couple years ago. After that, I was up and back to work. After the year that I'm supposed to give to her as well, and I'm back to work, and I'm paying my dowry to my father, to her father, not to a man, because there's no way I can pay back what he's given. So it's my life. Yeah, the dude said, yeah, just don't beat her and take care of her. Yeah, that's cool, but it's like how we're reading about the law of restitution. This is where Christ or Messiah, our King, gives us instruction to say, go beyond this. This is just standard. I mean, these are your rules. These are civil, but you don't just gotta follow to the T and toe the line.
It's more spiritual.
But I just wanted to bring up a real life situation where when a woman is taken, it's not, or enticed, it ain't always a bad thing.
when this word says seduced.
Yeah.
So it's implied that she may have consented, but she was seduced.
Yeah. But she doesn't have the consent to do that because her father's her head. If we're following traditional values, because it doesn't say that word for word in the Bible other than in Corinthians. There's no real precepts in the Torah to say that the father's the head and you don't really have a say as a daughter. She ain't got no say as she's under my authority.
Well, I got 2 points I want to bring out. For one, Brother Darrell brought up a good point. When you said entice is not necessarily a bad thing, well, this is where I like to get to definition of words. What does entice or seduce mean in here? Because this is what happens, and I'll make 2 points. Today, we have the engagement ring, right? Somebody says, will you marry me, right? Well, some people look at that as a dowry because a lot of times engagement rings, right, they're not less than $500 average. My second point, seduce, could you look up the word seduce or entice? But
What verse are we in?
Verse
16 to 17.
Verse 16 and 17 in Exodus 22.
66:01.
In this day and age, and I want to make this real quick. In this day and age, you do have a lot of women who are enticed by men. What are they told? Oh, baby, you so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
Come with me.
I'm guilty of that.
You know, come with me. Yeah, I love you. You know, I love you. I like you. You know what I mean? Yeah, you.
Huh?
I think we all are.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on, and I had to give that example because nothing is new under the sun. What we doing now was happening back then. If it was happening back then, guess what? We're not immune to it. That's why the Father said write it down. But the Father is a loving, just Elohim, power deity. He wants to make sure all his people are rightfully protected. These women and men, we're supposed to be protected. The Father is saying, look, if this happens, which, you know, I know my people, it could happen, then do this. So, you know, you gotta, the Father laid out protective rules and measures and instructions for us to live by because he knows the hearts of us, of all of us. So if you talking about, hey baby, you nice, come on over here. Well, do what you say. Do what you say you're gonna do. Somebody's gonna hold you to a standard. Somebody's gonna hold you accountable and responsible. That's all.
I just want to add this one based on what we were talking about, because we know the law is often based on precedence, right? So there's a series of things that happen where we can make a determination, and so we have examples. Sometimes that's all we have to get to the real answer. So we know one example was Jacob, who was a trickster, right? He wanted Rachel, but the law says that you have to marry off the older before the younger. So he had to work 7 years. That was the price. But for Rachel, he had to work another 7 years. So he owed 14 years of labor
for the one he really wanted
as a price.
Yeah.
You know? And so
as you
we know there sometimes kings, they were brought virgins because they carried a certain value.
Yeah.
And so depending on the value, he may have got 10, he may have had 20. You know. So there are some examples, and then sometimes that's all we have to make whatever determination. You know? So when we're looking for a scripture that tells me verbatim what the price is, you know, and it may not ever tell you that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about this.
So then we
it could be according to what you have.
Go back to the word judgment.
Yeah.
I have to make a judgment, a psychological judgment.
A righteous judgment.
Exactly.
And on type of righteous judgment.
Righteousness.
And that's what it means. And the
But
thing
I always have a foundation. But what that is for you, what that is for me, may not be the same thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What I was gonna say, like sis always says, the Bible is not a verbatim book. And the thing is that we just brought up judgment. When it comes to certain things in the scriptures, we should not have to run to the scriptures for every single little detail. Common sense will tell you, okay, this is a God of justice, this is a God of mercy, this is a God of love. What's the right decision to do? So, and that's the thing, I stress common sense. Because if you don't have common sense, then, like I always say, you become a religious zombie. You know what I'm saying? So we have to keep that in mind. The topic today is righteous judgment. So the righteous thing will be for the young man to do is to pay the dowry of virgins.
What he said he was going to do, because he pretty much told this woman he was going to do something, and the father's making sure he's held accountable for standing on his word.
Because he enticed. Now this is the word in the Hebrew, enticed.
We always say it here, it's better than common sense, the Holy Spirit. Right. So we always have to be led by the Spirit.
Exactly.
And so we have to be obedient to what where the Spirit leads us.
Exactly. The Hebrew word for entice is 6601. It's patah. And it reads, to open, cause, make, roomy, usually figurative in a mental, moral sense. To be caused. I'm sorry. To be caused, make, simple, or in a sinister way, delude, entice, deceive, persuade, flatter, allure, enlarge, silly, one. So he may have deceptively conned her, or he could have enticed her in a positive way, to where she kind of eyeing him. I mean, you know, come on, we men and women, we know how we do. Like I don't have to go into the specifics.
So is that a righteous man or what?
If now, so that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, is he righteous for doing that? No, not all the time. Not necessarily. There could be some unrighteous intent, and there could be some righteous intent. It just depends on how the brother goes about it.
Can't be both.
Yeah, it can't be both. It's got to be one or the other. But see, we can be honest enough to call it that, either or. We're not gonna always be 100% accurate. This thing about keeping it 100, I disagree with that entirely. I disagree with it, because how are you gonna keep it 100 when there's so much information in here? You're gonna always be lacking. You're gonna always try to do this, but you're gonna lack in this. So I don't promote keep being 100. No, man, just stay in prayer and just do the best you can. And the Most High, He'll take care of the rest. I don't promote keeping it 100. I'm just, no.
Like he said, the rich young ruler, he only lacked one thing.
Yeah.
And couldn't do it.
Exactly.
Most of us lack 5 or 6 things.
Yeah. You're always gonna be off. So, like I've said before, I don't use the first 5 books to beat nobody up with. I do not, because that's not the core of the message. It's about being obedient. Just be obedient. And those things, look, what did Christ say in Mark chapter 12? Matthew chapter 7. He said, all of the law fall under these 2. To love the Most High with all your heart and all thy soul, and to love thy neighbor as you love thyself. All of the law fall under them 2. Just them 2. Do those right and you'll be on point. You don't have to go through law 55, law 56, 57, 58. No, don't take all that.
Let's see.
And that's not really Torah.
No,
when
it's not
Torah. When we talk
Torah.
about 613 commandments, that's a Spanish guy who codified some.
That's a Latin, Latin translators who did all that.
I mean, Torah itself is teaching. It's instruction.
It's action.
Exactly.
It's action. But
it's that love we were hearing about.
Exactly. Let's go to verse 18.
Okay. Exodus 22, verse 18. You shall not permit a sorceress to live. Verse 19. Whoever lies with an animal shall surely be put to death. Verse 20. He who sacrifices to any god except to the Lord or Yahweh only, he shall be utterly destroyed.
Okay. Now, as you can see here, we're dealing with idolatry. Prior to this, we were dealing with somewhat of fornication, somewhat not fornication. But as you can see, pretty much the things the Most High are stressing in this verse, and I mean, not just in this chapter, but in verse 21, these are things that could be considered sin if you do them unrighteously.
You talking about verses 18 and 20?
Yeah, 18 through 20. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to this is idolatry. Verses 18 talking about thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. You ain't supposed to have that among you. And if you allow that in your circle and allow that in the community, then guess what? That's contrary to what he's teaching you.
Right.
And he said in verse 19, whosoever lie with a beast shall surely be put to death. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts around it. Don't do it. If you do it, you're done. Verse 20, he that sacrificeth unto any god save unto the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed. That's idolatry. If you're serving idols, you are not supposed to do it. It's that simple. And I mean, and like I said, it shouldn't take for us to open this up and read it to find out if we're not supposed to sacrifice to an idol or not. It don't take this. Common sense will tell you.
Sometimes, because sometimes common sense is not common.
Yeah, exactly. But that is true. But we have people who call themselves well studied, and they study the law, and they know it like the back of their hand. But when it comes to certain matters like this, we got to go over this. Now the book becomes an idol. It's not even about the spirit no more. You're bounding yourself to just a textbook, which is nothing wrong with believing it. It's our witness.
Go ahead. It's not that the book becomes an idol. It's the individual is trying to make themselves an idol. Because see what happens, people get outside the realm of teaching and learning and conversing with each other and get into the realm of trying to be right. You lose the basic principles. And that's when people start, I'm right because this makes me right. Like, that's not what it's here for. You know, that your understanding is based on that.
Yeah.
So if you want me to understand your understanding and you want to use a verse to represent, that's a bit different than arguing validity based on verses. And so I definitely understand when you're saying sometimes you don't always have to run to the word in order to have yourself backed up, because if you take that pride element out of it, of having to be right and just having a conversation for understanding, it's not always a need to be have something make you feel valid.
There goes that word, understanding. Because if you don't have that, then guess what?
But understanding is a unique word. Like, no one's going to understand everything. That's why we teach and converse with each other, so we can learn from each other.
Yep.
But if you don't have acceptance of yourself, and your place in whatever group or circle you're in, that's where the problem lies within. Because, like now we're having a discussion, there's no issue because no one is here trying to be right. No one's here trying to be the most knowledgeable or the most, everyone's here open, listening, and learning versus you go in some environments, like you said, you can watch some videos, someone has to be right or my following is big or these more people donate to me or whatever reason they have to be right. That the message gets lost and then the message becomes about, well, they're doing this wrong over here, don't listen to them.
Yeah.
You know, instead of whatever the topic was for the day. So kind of based on what you said earlier, people really, I like the word application.
Yep.
Because I mean, you're pretty much, you know, what I mean, you're like you said, active. You're applying it. You're living it. You're doing it, and you do it so much, you lose that side of yourself that needs to be told that you're good or told that you're pretty or whatever. You know what I mean? That side that, like, when you're busy working and applying all these lessons, you don't need to go and tell everybody how right you are. They can see it on you. You know, if you are in an aspect right, you know what I mean? Like if you're applying this word to your life, people, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, people will see that light shine through you, see it through you. Exactly. So you don't always have to keep saying I'm right based on this, I'm right based on this, I'm right based on this.
Yep.
You know, you're right based on the way you live, and then our conversation is based on us communicating and sharing with each other.
Exactly. Very much so.
Well, that's the concept verse 21. Where people come up with the 100, right? I can find, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't sleep with animals, so I'm good. You know, and so we can find we can create a laundry list of what makes me good, and never create a list of what makes me not good. Right. Yeah. Even Yeshua said none are good. Man. You know, don't even call me good because only the Father is good. So, and then 100 would mean I don't need the Father. I don't need grace and mercy. I'm good all by myself.
Yeah, and then when we get it, when we ascend to the clouds, something is most definitely wrong. And like you said, Christ said himself, "Don't call me good," and he didn't sin not one time. So see, that's the thing. Like, if somebody who has not sinned not one time, who's the image of the Most High, who's the image of the Father, who was holy and divine himself, and he said, "Don't call me good," that shows the perfect blueprint on how to live according to how the Most High called it. So when we have individuals who always keep saying we got to do this and that, no, look at the Messiah. He didn't do any wrong. He was actually impaled. He was slaughtered. An innocent man killed. If anyone should be boasting, it should be him. And he'll be justified by doing it. But that's not the way how the Most High laid it out. Because he's going to shine, because his light is shining for all of us who believe in him. We look to him. That's how we should act.
Because, in his flesh, then it would indicate that we can achieve the 100s. We can achieve that level of
by looking
perfection.
at him. Exactly. See, that's the thing.
He is the one, like to say 100, right? To stay
he's
solid.
the one. Yeah, he's the one to be
the same all the time.
Not bend or fold.
He is real talk, to not fold. That's a great phrase.
And we're gonna get into that too. In the next chapter, we'll get into that.
To hold his card, to play his hand for what it is. He had the strongest hand that there is, but I mean, to when you say keeping it 100, it's admitting your flaw. And me growing up, I'm a little younger than you, so like when people say that, it's still foreign to me, but I understand what they're saying.
Right.
They're saying being 100% to yourself. Don't lie to yourself, and with that, you admit your flaws. You admit your need for forgiveness. You admit those type of things. It may not be what the world may always mean, but to the ones that were around me that I heard that from, or I'll see the text, the picture, the thing, like the
emoji.
Yeah, the emoji. That's like colloquial. That's whatever. But to actually move the meaning for me, culturally, would be to stay solid and really know your don't fold.
Right,
know what you got.
Basically, if 1,000 people who believe something different than us walked in here and all took up chairs, how many of us still gonna speak like we're speaking right now? If you still do that, quote unquote, keeping it 100 by the way that they mean it.
Exactly.
It's just like you're not gonna change based on pressure.
I don't.
But like y'all are alluding to, no one can ever actually be 100. You know, because one thing is the sin most often committed is the one no one can see. You know what I'm saying? Which is self-doubt, which is loathing, which is things that you don't even realize are in you until it comes out of your thought process, and you're like, oh wait, let me catch that. I didn't even mean to do that.
That's a good point.
So I mean, there's so many people that seem to have it all together on the surface, and inside are crumbling. So I mean, like I said, we all, like the word says, we all need each other. No, like you guys are alluding to, no one is ever 100% perfect down the line. Can say, do what I do, say what I say, because we don't know what's going on in the back of their minds. I mean,
Exactly.
it's just
Exactly. Let's read verse 21.
Exodus 22, verse 21. You shall neither mistreat a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
You stop right there real quick. Now this is just a reminder, because we know people promote racism, and they always call themselves, we study the law, we know the law, but the law just commanded you not to oppress or vex the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. So the thing is that, isn't it in Proverbs, you're not to hate your oppressor, and not to have any of his ways, because the Most High saw it. Because once you hate him, guess what? You're gonna act just like him. So as you can see, the Most High stresses: do not vex the stranger, nor oppress him, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Remember, it's the same, and the same thing with a lot of our people too. We were in captivity for a long time, and mentally still there, and it's not right for us to hate others, but for some reason we've been mistreated for so long, it just only comes natural to do it because we have hate for those. So that's just something in Exodus 22 I want to look at. Just a few key things I felt there.
Go ahead.
Verse 20. Go ahead, verse 20. Go ahead, read it, bro.
well, my book it says never show disrespect for elders.
It's the nonsense.
Well, you say, but but I mean, like you hear so much negativity, well, like that. It's a horror, because you heard it back with Bush. You know, Obama got it from his people.
Yeah, supposed to be. What's so crazy? Trump made that. He wants you to pay attention. He wants you to follow him. He wants to say those crazy. Come on, a guy. This man got to be 70 years old, and he's the president of the United States, and he's tweeting.
That's true, but that's no excuse for us, because
I know it's not no excuse.
Joe's Crab Shack and Red Lobster show make it easy to go eat shellfish.
Yeah, that is true. No, that's the
saying?
point I'm saying. But see, the things he's doing, he makes it to where you have no other. I'm not saying you don't have to, but it's easy for people just to point at him. Look what you're doing. Look what you're doing. You're tweeting for your Twitter account. You're doing this. You're doing that. He's doing it because he wants that reaction. Trump is doing everything on purpose. Why do you think the media, they cover him all? Even it's like they do it every single day.
So
but he's not exempt from getting treated like any other president.
Yeah, exactly.
Every other president got talked about every day.
Oh, no,
but it's just that we're talking about the things that he does as the president, because that's what you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about what somebody does do or don't do. So.
And I agree, but a lot of people don't leave it at just his actions. A lot of people do take shots, talk negative.
They talk about him, huh?
They talk about him. And again, I'm not saying I'm innocent, because I've had my fair share of things to say about a couple of presidents as well. But
I'll talk about all of them.
What it boils down to is us. I mean, like, because again, we're disciplined enough to see commercials for lobster tails and shrimp every day, all day long.
Yeah, exactly.
And don't none of us turn to that Red Lobster and stare at it like, should I go in, or you know what I mean? Like, we just keep driving because we've already disciplined ourselves enough to not even worry about that. So this verse points out a good thing for us as a group to have something to work on. Is like, you know.
What verse again?
Verse 28.
In Exodus 22? All right.
Is trying to find a way to still voice your displeasure with his decisions without disrespecting them, you know, or any person of leadership, you know.
Well, may I make this point? Good point. And let me add to what you're saying. The Father, Yahweh in heaven, already see this ruler and how they're ruling. So we don't have to curse him. Guess who will? The Most High.
Well, I understand that.
So that, you know, that goes back to.
But I understand that. But I guess my point what I'm getting to is because even without that, basically like playing a sport, you practice, and when it's game time, you get in the game, you're ready to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Trump is the game. You know what I mean? Bush was practice, Clinton was practice, Obama was practice because they pushed people's buttons, but they didn't push to the point to where they felt like there was a need to stand up and be disrespectful towards the White House because, yeah, we disagree with a lot of things, but it wasn't so in our face.
Yeah.
Trump is like you said, in your face. He's on your social media feeds. He's on the news. So it's like our test that we've been training ourselves for to find a way to still voice our discomfort, our displeasures with certain policy things without being disrespectful. I mean,
may I say something to that? You know, and I'll just give a personal thing for me, real quick. You said Trump is in our face. He ain't in mine. Because you know what I have the control over? The TV. You know what else I have control over? The social media. What I do is I tend to stay away from things that I know are going to make my spirit uneasy. I turn stuff off because I definitely have the power to do that. Mm-hmm. Only time I really hear about Trump is at work. You know, people talk about him like, okay, well, you know, I'll say, yeah, he could do better or whatever, but anybody whose energy, that's the spirit, right? Anybody whose energy I know I can't be around, I dismiss myself. Go ahead.
Several months back, we were teaching on submission. We were talking about this, right? Submission and humility. And so the word says we have to submit to authority. We have to submit to our leaders. And so we can choose, and that was the choice I made, so that I can look at this stuff, you know. So I can't run from like these shootings and inflation and the economy and all these things that affect me every day. You know? I mean, like I said, that's in my face. And so when you look at somebody like Donald Trump, and we had references of some other kings who were disrupting the economy and those things, you know. But it's still the Lord. And so what Donald Trump is tearing up right now in the White House, no one else could do that. You look at what happened yesterday. All those big companies and businesses that cut off the NRA. Only Donald Trump could have did that. You know, so they're losing. The NRA is now losing billions of dollars worth of contributors because of what's just happened, and then they came out and didn't say the things we wanted to hear. So everyone backed out. You look at all the people waking up, all the protests, all the women, everything he's waking people up, you know, where, say somebody like Hillary would have been there, we would have just went on like nothing. We would have never been looking to make the changes that we're making. We would have just kept on going status quo. So when we really look at how God used somebody like him to just tear everything up, you know, rewriting laws, talking about women who were harassed and raped, you know, we wouldn't have done anything had he not have been in there. Now you have a president who's also accused 19 times, you know, however many he's up to now, you know, paying off prostitutes like we were talking about. What's the price for the virgin, you know? So he paying some prices, but in this, man, we're like getting some people out of office and rewriting laws and eventually, like I said, I think the year 2022, when we talk about the 7-year sabbatical, I think when we hit 2022, which happens to be that election year, I think there's going to be a lot of changes that we're going to really like. But right now, we're in a, you know, it gets it gets worse before it gets better. Right now it's very ugly, but you know, now they're talking about banning certain guns and weapons. You know, like they did the AK-47. You know, my brother-in-law said one way to ban AK-47 is give one to every black man in America. And they'll ban that by next week.
And they did.
You know, so you know, I mean, there's. But I said I choose to look at what's being the conversation now about all the things that we need to change, all the different things that were gray areas, where it really wasn't a law. It was just things we do out of respect, and now we don't have respect for different things. And so now it's going to be written into the law. And like I said, there are going to be judgments now for things that we're watching guys. Why do they still have security clearances? You know, why are they still operating this way when somebody at AT&T walked into the wrong door and lost their clearance and lost their job? You know? And then what these guys are doing, money laundering and at the highest level. So it's a way to look at it like he's the right man for the job. The way we really want to look at it that way, like no one else could have done this for him. And his whole family, like I said, you know, now we're talking about the rule where generally you don't bring your family into the White House. And then he brought his whole family in. Yeah. And they're all
the in-laws and everybody.
You know. And so now we look, you know, he's causing us to look at things and write things in the law so that we'll never have another Donald Trump.
Right.
That's
a
this
good way of looking
this dude,
at
I call this dude King Trump.
Yeah.
King.
Yeah.
And Donald, to be honest, let's be real. And now I want to I want to move on after this. We deserve Donald Trump right now.
Yeah.
We deserved it. We deserve it because we allowed it to happen. We allowed it to happen. You know what I'm saying? This is what we get for being complacent and allowing our system to dictate and do things for us. And if I think if the people were more active and were more involved in the concerns and the affairs of the country, then we wouldn't have guys like him. That is the honest truth. You know how many people that don't vote still? You're always talking about, record-breaking numbers this election. There are still millions of people in this country who don't vote. Now, I understand there are reasons why people don't vote, because everything seems to be rigged. But the thing is that people are not doing anything. People are complacent. They're just sitting there waiting for someone to do something for them.
Well, it's going to be hard to convince people to vote now, because we've had two presidents win the popular vote and still not get the office. So that's going to have young people
most definitely
doubt the system.
Most definitely. So now all of a sudden, what do we do?
Well, like I said, that's one of the top things that they're going after.
Well, if you ask me, we insulate and build community.
That's the only solution.
We can't judge outside of the body.
Yeah.
These judgments we're talking about, these righteous judgments we talk about, that's for us.
Yeah.
Anybody outside of it ain't gonna hear it.
I ain't
gonna say ain't gonna hear it, but some may.
But this is what makes Israel light to the nations, by the way they conduct themselves. You know what I'm saying? This is why the Most High has separated them and set them to himself. You act this way, people will see you, and they will eventually want to come and join on. That's the point of being Israel. That's what Israel is all about, being a light to the nations. That's what it's all about. The way you act, your laws, the way you treat each other, the way you do things, with your civil laws, and the way you eat, all these different type of things. People from a distance are going to notice it. And they're going to be like, wow, you know what? Let me go over here and check these brothers and sisters out, man. They seem so less stressed. They look healthy. They conduct themselves in a proper manner. They keep principles which are honorable, which are righteous. But you know what Israel doing nowadays? Busy game banging on the internet. That's what they're doing. Or in our local areas, we're busy picking at each other. We're not doing nothing to get further. I don't like you because you do this. I don't like you because you do this, and I'm not going to fellowship with you anymore. That type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's about our ego. It's not even about furthering the group. It's not about furthering the community. It's about, well, I don't like that, so I'm not going to be your friend anymore. That's how Israel acts. The flesh profit nothing.
That's how a few people act. I mean, to me, from what I've seen, I see a lot of people in Israel coming together and want to work together. I mean, it's it's different tribes in every nation. So I mean, you know, everyone's not going to see eye to eye or always agree on everything. But I mean, it's, you know, it's not going to always be possible to have all the factions be in one building, because again, like I said, at some point somebody's going to want to be able to say that they lead this or they're a leader of that more so than a member.
Yeah.
But as long as the faction that we're involved in and responsible for is performing at the level that we deem is necessary to shine light, you know, that's the point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody else could follow suit, whether they Israel or not.
Exactly.
Because according to the word, to be Israel, you got to follow certain structures. It ain't about what everybody else trying to throw in and add on to it.
Yeah.
You know, I used to tell Sean all the time, like, when them cats start arguing online and fighting on somebody, you know, I'm not entertained by that. I don't think it's funny. I don't want to come in there and hear it.
You're doing more damage than good.
It's doing more damage than good, and it's going in reverse, because you're doing exactly what you quote unquote came out of.
You claim to come out of it. Yeah, but this is what we deal with. Not just Israel, all the religious doctrines. There's always it has to be some kind of beef, some type of issue with each other. It can never be, you know what, I'm forget about myself and do everything for the best for the community, for all who are involved. I'll sacrifice my ego and be like, you know what, it's not about me, it's about all of us. How can we all gain from this decision or whatever it may be? And that's the problem. The more we keep doing these things, and then we always come in the name of the Most High, I keep trying to tell people, we are going to be judged on the way we conduct ourselves. And this is a serious matter. I tell all my kin folks all the time, I said, I can't deal with you like that. I can't sit here and teach one thing and then do this. No, it's not, no. Doesn't make any sense. Like when it comes to my little girl right here. I have to do her a certain way. I have to dang near keep her away from everybody now. I have to nope, she can't come over. Sorry. She has to stay here at the house. Sorry. I can't trust relatives no more. I cannot. You know what I'm saying? And I'm over here losing my mind because I have people who willingly don't care about what I'm doing and just want to do her any old kind of, no, she's my responsibility. And then I got to go back and forth with arguments and fighting all. I'm like, you know what? I tell you what, you ain't got to see her no more. I hate to be that way, but look what Abraham did with his kids. You know what he did? He sent them off. He sent them away from Isaac. When Isaac was the chosen, what he do to them other kids? Go. That's what I'm doing with her. You go nowhere. You stay here with me now. It shouldn't have to be that way, but I have to now. But I didn't mean to get sidetracked.
Yeah, but like I said, and what we've been reading about is a lot about the treatment of women. So you look at what's happening today. Those women are rising because since all of history they've been mistreated. Now a door's been opened, and they're coming out, and people just resigning. People come back and say, "You abused me 15 years ago," and they're being judged. But and the word says, I think in Malachi 2. So I've been judging you since the wife of your youth. So that's what I'm judging you on. How are you treating your women, your daughters, buying them, selling them, how you're not teaching them, and that's coming to a head right now.
It's starting to really
start convincing people to vote. You don't have to convince them. They already marching. They already letting you know.
Protesting, and it's getting
you out.
And not just that, there's a spirit that's telling, and I have no issue with people stand up for their rights and speaking out. I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a human right. That shouldn't be a privilege within the country. That's a human right. There's nothing wrong with people stepping out, but I think we're getting to the point to where now we have individuals who say, I don't need a man. See, or I don't need this. When these are things that you actually need to survive in life. So when you sit back and you tell me that you don't need a man for this, I can understand why you say that, but sit back and think about it. No woman, you may have women that go the other way, messing with other women, But overall, a woman who is a woman that's attracted to men who go around saying don't need a man, those are women. Those are dangerous individuals, very dangerous, because they can influence a lot of people to think that way, and then you got nothing but confusion. Now you have men and women fighting each other when the end was established from the beginning. The goal was established in the beginning that we're supposed to be working together, not supposed to be separate fighting each other.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Since you brought it up. Why would a woman say she don't need a man? Does she come off top and say that? Or is there a reason why she starts to say that?
Because the men have put the women in so much turmoil over centuries and years and years and years.
When did the mistreatment start?
The mistreatment started, I would say.
When did the mistreatment of women start?
I would say in the curses of Genesis chapter 3, that's when it began. That's when the Most High called it for how it's going to be, from willingly disobeying.
So the mistreatment of women started in Genesis 3.
Exactly.
So does the Father call for the people not to mistreat women?
He calls for them to do everything in order. So what everybody is talking about, because people think Genesis chapter 3 is a blessing. I actually talk to people and they think it's a blessing. So it's a blessing for a man to rule over his woman and disrespect her. But you call yourself a Bible teacher? And you say the Most High God talks to you? Ain't the Most High you dealing with. There's supposed to be a balance, not an over aggression and crossing the line and telling them to shut up and be quiet and cook my food, or if you don't, I'm gonna hit you. That doesn't work. But I'm telling you, these are people who I talk to, and they are seriously convinced that a woman is supposed to be their domestic slave and be quiet.
Hold up, one more question. Let me re-clarify.
Yeah.
The mistreatment of women started in Genesis 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, does the Father in the Torah, the rest of the books, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, does it show that you're not supposed to mistreat women?
You're not supposed to. It doesn't show you.
All right. So it started back then, but the Father gave you commandments not to do it. So you're saying the children of Israel, even though they were told in the commandments not to mistreat women, so you're saying from the time were given the commandments up till now, we've been in error. We've been in error
the whole time.
And
from what you just said, how did it start?
What do you mean?
The
mistreatment
of the women.
When the curses were called in Genesis chapter 3, when the Most High said that your husband will rule over you. But there was no type of rulership in the first 2 chapters, and they were perfect. They were united. They were akkad. They were united. They were one body, one flesh, one body. And then after they willingly sinned, these are the conditions for willingly sinning against me. Guess what? Since you did this got to happen. And since you did that, this has to happen.
Who did what?
When Eve was deceived, and she understood that the commandment was not to eat of the knowledge of the fruit of the true knowledge of the fruit of good and evil. And then her husband also ate the fruit as well. Since they willingly sinned against the Most High, there are consequences now. You're not going to be perfect anymore. You're going to be still an item. You're going to be together, but these are the consequences. Now you're not going to allow for the women. Your husband's not going to allow you to properly function. He's going to rule over you and dominate you.
Right. It also says that Adam is the one that made the first sin because he didn't stay in his place.
Yeah, he didn't.
He should have told.
Yeah, he should have.
Should have told that servant to hit the road, get out of here.
Yeah, there's a consequence for that too, because Adam has a consequence. Because as men, we got to get out there and work and labor. There ain't nothing for to be handed to you. Because when they were in the garden, Adam didn't have to work. He had to do nothing. All the food was right there for him. He could sit back and.
But that's part of the judgment, though.
Yeah.
That we're talking about. So now you're going to be the one to have to cling to her. You're going to be the one who was head over her. So you're going to be the one, responsible for her body, for everything that they do.
Yep. You got to provide.
I'm not going to talk to her. I'm going to talk to you. So, if my daughter goes and breaks out the neighbor's window, the neighbor ain't going to come to my daughter.
They'll come to him.
They're going to come to me because she can't pay. I'm the one who's going to pay. And so now it's about the responsibility that he placed on man, on the male. you're the one that I'm going to hold responsible, not them. And so now you're going to be judged based on them. I mean, you know, your treatment of them, their teaching, understanding, progress. You know, I'm going to judge. I'm going to come to you because I told you to do this. You know, I gave you everything to do. I gave her you as a help. I didn't say draw a line down the middle and this is your half and this is mine. You know, or you know, you do all the inside work, I'll do the outside work. He didn't even say for women to raise the children. That's still a man's job. I just gave her you to help. You know, but you know, father knows best. I mean, you know, y'all probably too young to remember that show. You know, but God comes to the man to in terms of instruction, what we're reading. The instruction is to him, but there's a consequence for her. You know, and like I said, mainly in childbirth was his main consequence. Her, she's gonna labor. She's gonna go into labor. You know. But we're still talking about that's the judgment now. Is that same thing we heard? You know, with all the leaders, Abraham, with everything happened with their children, he judged them for that. He judged the father.
So, women probably got a bunch of unrighteous men.
Well, that's true. Like I said, that's what she was getting at is the reason we have women that are aggressive, that don't want a man because they can't find a righteous man.
Right.
That's what they can't find. You know, not that I don't want a male.
I just want to get it straight. That's all.
But I can't find anyone, you know, righteous. I can't find anyone, you know, they say looking for love and nobody can find love. And so now we're in a fatherless society where fathers are not supporting their household, they're leaving.
Hey, the cold part is fathers are staying home in their households now, but they're not teaching their young men how to be men.
Right.
They staying home teaching their young men how to be leeches.
And be lazy.
Because I see more brothers now, 37 and down, 38 and down, that got their kids in their life and also got food stamps and got government assistance and ain't had a job in 15 years, and or you know, go get the bare minimum job just to get by, you know, so they can say, you know, I stay in the projects, I got a house.
Yeah.
Like the value of hard work has went away for like what they call it a microwave society now. Like everybody like wants everything right now.
I've been working since I was 17 years old, and I ain't stopped since.
Yeah, you lazy, dog. I had my first job at 14.
I just started my first one. I'm 27. I have to say something.
I had my paper out at 11.
You got us all beat there.
You said something about responsibility. I would say, not to bash on the world because we could do that all day, but I would say in our society, my generation, the jobs and industries that are available to us without further education, they don't give us responsibility, they give us tasks to complete, follow orders in which we're replaceable, but we're never given responsibility.
Yep.
I'm not making much money right now at the job I'm at, but I love what I do. I was technically let to know inside information. I'm gonna get a raise and I'm gonna be a supervisor over a crew, but there's no added responsibility. So what I was telling him, the raise is cool, that's whatever. Like, I don't work for money really, but I try to explain to him, all right, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm trying to gain some responsibility in this company to where my input's actually, the impact I have is actually noticeable. It ain't just, oh yeah, you're pumping out a bunch of pounds and you're working really fast, but there's no responsibility, meaning like I don't have any input in the system that's going on. I'm just a cog that's replaceable. With my generation growing up, we are involved in those type of industries where we're replaceable, a dime a dozen, with no responsibility. And it's a responsibility now that I'm taking on, that I've thrown off, that I'm finding a new sense of masculinity where I don't always have to be in control or dominate. I can't really say the phrase that I said we used to live by, but I'm finding now my masculinity in being a father and being a husband. And it's in total opposition of what I found my masculinity in before, because it wasn't taking responsibility when it was before. It was taking things. It was doing things. But now I'm taking on responsibility. So I'm doing things for that too. But it's that responsibility I have my master. Like that's where I'm a man for the responsibilities I've taken on. That's the only thing I want to bring up because you brought up responsibility, and that's as a young man. I'm the youngest person in the room, aside from these two. And like I said, this is my first real job. I'm 27. I've had a bunch of jobs, but this is the first real one where I want the responsibility, and it's hard to get it.
We're never void of being tested, because I know I'm going through it again now, and I'm over 50. And I keep going through this, and I don't know, I go to the Lord, and so it's always about when you get really tested, where do you go? Do you call my best friend? I start calling all my friends, going down my phone list, or do I seek Him first? Like, what is this? Because I don't know what it is. And I was thinking about in 2 Chronicles, Jehoshaphat was like, we don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. I'm looking to see now what you're going to do, because I don't know. I've done everything I know to do, and I don't know what else to do other than seek you, trust you, wait on you for the next move. And so yeah, that responsibility comes down to do I trust the Lord, or do I trust myself in this situation? Well, I don't trust me no more. I've learned that. So like I said, my responsibility is to humble myself.
Another thing, it's funny, and my dad's talking about this morning. One of the best responsible things that you can do, and one of the best abilities you can have, is availability and personability. There's a lot of things that are being automated now to where jobs don't need 100 people. They need 50. But out of those 50 people, can you be one of the 50 that can be there every day, that can be there 8 hours a day, that don't need to leave early, that can actually work and get the job done with little to no supervision over you? Can you be personable enough to be a part of a team? Can you be personable enough to follow directions, take instructions, while also giving instructions and being the leader? Those two abilities right there, unfortunately, is not something that's common to even the smartest of individuals. So if you can master those, that's something that can be brought to a company that's more valuable than anything else. If I can count on you being there, and I can work with you because I can deal with the way that you communicate and intertwine with your team members, then we can make something positive happen, versus you hating your job and me hating that when you come to work every day. So those two things really stand out, because we all see it. We all go to work, and we got that one coworker where we wonder, how do you still have a job? Because they don't come to work, or when they are at work, their attitude is bad. When we try to do team building stuff, they're the most negative, I don't want to do this people in the room. But the minute something doesn't go their way, they want to figure out why. It's like, well, because you weren't available a lot, and you're not personable with your team members, and
sometimes, like I said, just like in sports, you become a cap casualty.
Yeah.
Because if I want to cut costs, I'm not gonna cut the lower guy that I'm not paying. I'm gonna cut that guy. He might be the best player on the team, but he's costing me more than anybody else. And so sometimes they always cut you off at the top, because that's where they save the most money. And so it's just different how people look at it. Because I'm one of those guys. I don't have small children anymore. I can work 7 days a week, any day of the week, any shift. You can call me anytime. I can work overtime, and I have experience. And then I don't get the call. What's your price? Well, they look at me. I'm overqualified. I'm not 21 anymore. So now, are you gonna be here 3 years, and then we lose you, because you can't be here 20 years.
Yeah.
And so it's all kind of ways they look at it, and so, and all I'm saying is, the Father's involved, the Most High is involved. And so, is this about what you want from me, or is it about what I want from you?
Exactly.
And so you have to, and there's Paul said, a patiently waiting when I'm not a patient person.
Yeah, and I can understand. I can understand because I've been in that situation before.
I'm not patient with this stuff, and so I have to. Sometimes I get, I hear my wife come home. It's like, man, another day gone, and nothing. I can't keep losing days and nothing going on. But spiritually I have to believe. The word said, I'm always with you. And spiritually I have to believe that there's something going on. I just can't see it. That's the only way I can not lose my mind.
Yeah.
So we're going on the 2-hour mark. So just look at Exodus 23, then we'll just close after that.
Well, we can do a part 2. You wanna just we could end it and maybe catch up on a part 2. Maybe do like a study in the middle of the week. Where we can all get on a Zoom class, like either by phone or web camera. We can.
We can most definitely do that. Yeah, but I mean, we made some. I believe we touched on some very good points today. Some things to reflect, some things to go home and think about.
Oh man, right.
And most definitely we can most definitely look into some some things to walk away from and think, pray on and meditate on and gain from. I'm satisfied. I don't know if anybody else is.
Well, no, I'm just to reiterate, just to make sure human beings learn how to deal righteously with one another. Even though we see mistreatment, or even though we see some unrighteousness, we always know we have a blueprint to get back on to the path of righteousness, or get back on the path so we can not miss the mark. And so anytime this is what I'll say lastly, anytime we see something of some type of wrong or some type of incorrectness, the Father has always given us a way to get back on track, and He's given us this capability already to get back on track. So if something's not going on to getting back on track, that means somebody's making the choice to, and that person making the choice to do anything in opposition of the Father must check their heart with the Father, must check their spirit or energy with the Father. That means prayer, meditation. So that's what I want to say. Just learning how to deal civilly with one another. But the thing is, understand it's always possible, and dealing civilly. I would like to say that's my husband in here. I more so want to show that light by showing more positive things. Positive things showing that I am able to keep this. I'm showing I have the capability already built inside of me from the Most High to be positive, to be righteous. You know what I mean? I show more so the positive light. I try to show there's no gender war. I try to show that we are functional and that we're getting along. And so I try to leave that more so an example that's seen more than the negative example. You see what I mean? So I just want to let it be known, just for me, that the Father is letting us know that we're capable of doing this. Actually, let me read something real quick, and then I'm be done.
And just always know, if you have a personal relationship with the Most High, if you're in tune with Him, if you're tapped in, you and Him are tapped into each other, you're going to know what's righteous and what's unrighteous. Because you know him. I would stress that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm there. What I'm saying is that if we're going to call ourselves righteous in his sight, and we're going to say we're this and we're that with all these names and titles and all this stuff we always want to put on ourselves, then we should already know on how to properly conduct ourselves, righteously or unrighteously. We should know how to judge and not to judge. We should know. And like I said earlier, we should not have to go to this text all the time to find out, well, I don't know if I should do it. Well, hold on. Well, if you claiming to be an Israelite, anointed and all this kind of stuff, you shouldn't have to go here. You should just know based on what's right and what's not right. You should know. That's all I want to add. Go ahead, sister.
Deuteronomy 30, starting at verse 8. And you shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahweh, do all his commands, which I command you today, and Yahweh your Elohim shall make you have excess. Yahweh your Elohim shall make you have excess in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground for good. But Yahweh turns back to rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. Verse 10, if you obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to guard his commands and his laws, which are written in this book of the Torah, if you turn back to Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, for this command which I commanding you today, it is not too hard for you, nor is it far off. I just want to leave it at that. It's not too hard. That means if the Father is asking us to do something, guess what? He's already built in us the capability to do it. So I like to do my best to do it. Like I said, I try to show more positive light. You know, couples like me and Daryl, I love to show more other couples doing more positive things to show. If we see any mistreatment going on, the Father has already built in us the capability to start treating each other properly and righteously.
Hey, wife, don't tell everybody on the internet I'm good to you at home. That ain't nobody's business.
Hey.
Man, I got a reputation to keep up, okay? Hey. Don't be telling everybody I'm all nice and fast.
Hey, bro.
I ain't gonna use my whole name, too. Hey, did I tell you she got
Hey, bro.
Daryl was the second. I was like, hold on, dog. Wait a minute. Slow down. I ain't even got that on my Facebook page.
Hey,
now
bro.
I got it on the YouTube.
Hey, but guess what? Hey, bro. Hey, I've been around y'all for quite some time. I'm a witness.
Yeah, y'all quit telling people that stuff, man.
And see,
I'm
now you done made me want to read something now. Hey, that's something. I would go to James chapter 4. I want to probably go, verse 7, verse 6? No, verse 8. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. Speak not evil of one another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother, speaking evil of the law, or the Torah, and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. Think on that. And I'll just end with that. We'll just close out.
All right. We'll close out in prayer.
Yeah, I'll close out. All right, Heavenly Father, we come to you and we thank you. And we thank you for bringing those who are here with us. We pray, Heavenly Father, as we leave from this place that we have a safe traveling way back home. We thank you for the edification. We thank you for everybody bringing out their points and their opinions. We thank you because we got some clarity today, some more clarity. We thank you for just being patient with us, Father. We pray, Heavenly Father, as we leave from here to continue to impose your will upon us. And we pray, Heavenly Father, as we get closer to you, and you continue to use us as a light to bring people to you. And we ask and we pray and we thank you. In Christ's name we pray. Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. Shalom. Mishpacha of The Way. Shalom. Y'all have a good and blessed rest
Much
of the
love,
day.
Israel.
For 2 weeks. See you, like, I'm gonna come